Shaq was like a wall, people would say. And when I used to have to put my hand on his back for the drills, I was like putting on a brick wall, like a monument or something. I don't know. But tell us about that relationship with Kobe. I knew Kobe's dad and Kobe, but Kobe was another different personality also.
Yeah. Kobe's personality and the way he approached basketball and his responsibilities with basketball and the whole idea of committing, to it was probably the closest I've seen to Michael. But there were some differences. I think that to me, Kobe always there's an air of seriousness to everything that he did with basketball, where Michael could kind of compartmentalize. I'm at practice for this 2-hour block of time, but after that, I'm going to go play a round of golf. I'm going to enjoy a cigar. I'm going to, be with my family, whatever. Where especially before he started his family, Kobe had such a singular focus on basketball and being the very best player he could possibly be, and just being utterly dedicated. And if there was a to-do list, that had 20 items on it, he was going to do all 20 of them. He wasn't going to shortchange himself in any way. And he also, his competitive nature and his passion for competition, I think would certainly rival Michael's as well. And then later in life, when he did get married, then started a family, then a lot of that dedication then went, I'll tell you, there were only a handful of times that he ever would call me to miss an off-season workout. And one of them was, calling me at 5 a.m. before I'd started my commute and to meet him because one of his daughters was sick and he wanted to be the one to take her in to see the doctor. And then another similar was the first day of school and he wanted to be the one to take his daughter to school. So these were these sort of, just I think reflect his dedication, love obviously for his family would be the only thing that ever trumped basketball in his life. But up until that point, basketball was a singular passion in his life until he got married and started a family. The other thing about Kobe that was really interesting to me, and I think this started to become apparent in his brief retirement, and obviously, the events, around his passing are just epically tragic to everybody that, was fortunate enough to know him or work with him, but even those that didn't, that just, enjoyed him as a fan. The world lost someone special, on that day. And I think that one of the things that was apparent is what the world's loss will be was what might have been, because he was, I think, he was probably in his office at 5 a.m. the next morning after his last game, starting the next chapter of his life. And you saw that with, he was so interested in everything. He was interested in music. He was interested in art. He was interested in films. I remember one time he came in the weight room one time, and I had, one of the business channels on, whether it's CNBC or one of those networks. And my policy was always that when an athlete was in training, if whatever they wanted certain music on, they could, it was their time to do that. And so I reached for the remote to turn it off. And he said, no, leave that on. And whoever the person was that was being interviewed on the program was it was a new CEO of PepsiCo or one of the big companies. And he knew more about the guy than the guy doing the interview. In other words, he was so engaged just even in that world of business and commerce and finance and things like that, because he just had this insatiable desire and thirst for knowledge and everything. And he really admired excellence in anything. I remember even when, certain artists Justin Bieber or Lady Gaga, these people were just first kind of hitting the scene and becoming noteworthy. He was fascinated with their talent and their excellence in certain things, and he was fascinated by excellence in anything. And I think that really reflected a lot of what drove him, because if he was going to do a movie project and he wanted music for it, he wasn't going to mess with. He wanted John Williams to do the soundtrack of his short film. If he needed an animator, he was going to find excellence, birds of a feather to flock with other excellence together.
The top person in their industry.
Yeah. And he just was that way with everything, but he just admired greatness and excellence wherever it was. And, again, I think we really lost something on that tragic day, because there was always what might have been. Yeah. He might have had an entire, one of these people that has one life in one career and then just pivots and has a whole nother multi-decade, career in, it probably would have been the entertainment industry he loves storytelling and all these things. And so it's all of our loss, what might have been there.